Today is an exciting day in the history of our podcast. For months and months and months, we have been talking about the movie Megalopolis. And it has finally come out, and I am the only one who has seen it. And boy, do I have thoughts. Ethan and Caroline, buckle up. We're going to talk about Megalopolis today.
I can't wait.
Ethan, how are you? How's parenting? This is a part of the show where we ask Ethan how parenting goes.
No, it's good. I'm actually on parental leave right now. So I have been watching like a spooky movie every day and just trying to watch some spooky movies to get myself in the mood, you know?
What spooky movies have you been watching?
I watched They Live, the John Carpenter movie, which was good. I watched Ready or Not on Caroline, your recommendation for how we've underestimated Adam Brody as an actor for generations, and
as an actor and as a heartthrob.
And all of it.
I will say I never underestimated him, but he's just back.
He's great. That movie was really fun. That was really good.
Yeah.
Those are the ones. I'm halfway through the Sydney Sweeney movie Immaculate.
Oh,
and I know that this is going to be a conversation about bad movies that we have seen. And let me just say that even though I will ultimately give it a higher star rating than the other Sydney Sweeney movie from this year, Madam Web was a much better movie than this garbage Immaculate.
Interesting.
Caroline, were you at the premiere of Immaculate?
Yeah, Sydney Sweeney came out. And maybe that's why I gave it a higher star rating. I thought I thought there were more images from the end of that movie that I thought were going to become more of a meme, like her eating the umbilical cord. There was stuff like that I was like,
spoiler, I'm halfway through it.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought you finished. It's like a 90-minute movie.
No, feedings usually take about 25 minutes, so I'm watching it in 25-minute increments.
As people want you to watch movies.
Ethan, what's the next spooky movie you're going to see?
I don't know. Give me some good recs.
Oddity. Watch Oddity.
Oddity?
Go see Oddity. It's on AMC Plus. You could probably sign up for a free trial or whatever. By the way, AMC Plus, I still argue, is the best out of all the streaming services because it comes with Shudder and AMC Plus. Oddity is a wonderful horror movie from this year.
Okay.
I think you would really enjoy it.
I'll make it next. Do you know what Sydney Sweeney's character in Immaculate is? I think that her primary personality trait is asking questions to fill in plot hole. And that is her entire personality in that movie. What do you mean? Where are we? Why is it like that? Some brilliant writing.
A female character whose only job is to spout out exposition? Does that mean we should talk about Megalopolis right now?
Does that mean we should also talk about Saturday Night?
Ooh, bird. Caroline. So Caroline's been seeing a lot of movies. Caroline's been seeing, Caroline being the LA representative, has seen movies that are not out yet. As of this recording, who knows when we're going to release this?
2025.
For all we know, every movie we're going to talk about has already been out for a year now. Ethan, how's that best of the decade episode going?
It's good. I'm still working on it. I think I've edited through our top 4, so only 3 to go, or 9 if you multiply by 3. By the way, this is I want to see that. What the fuck is this podcast called?
What is our podcast called?
What the fuck with Mark
whatever
Maron.
the podcast is called. That's the title, and I'm Eli.
I'm Ethan.
I'm Caroline. I started to do my Ethan impression thinking I was going to be Ethan.
And then you became a witch? That's speaking of offensive female characters.
Speaking of spooky season.
How? What do you want? I only live to serve you.
Is that dialogue from Megalopolis?
That's Ethan and my interpretation of your role on this podcast, unfortunately.
Cool.
Ethan,
cool.
it's not Ethan, you're there with me. Don't shake your head. You said that.
Well, Madeline and Michelle, if you were listening.
They're not.
I didn't say it. Yeah, so Caroline, you've been seeing some premieres or some early advanced screenings. Tell us about the movies you've been seeing.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess the most recent. So I saw Saturday Night last night, and here's what I'll say. I was excited about this because I think all three of us, we grew up on SNL. And I think that's something like that. If you do comedy, that's something that you love. And I think it was interesting to watch it in the same week that I watched Will and Harper, where it is based around people who worked at SNL. But I have to say, I don't know that Jason Reitman has written a comedy before. I don't know why we needed to be tied to the live, like this needed to be in real time. I don't know why the story was told. There's a Gilda I think when I wanted to throw my phone 10 minutes in, but when Gilda Radner is watching John Belushi on the ice and she's saying the line verbatim that I feel like is something I've seen on like Tumblr or whatever. She says, "Have you ever been nostalgic for the moment that you're in before it passes?"
Oh.
That is a line of dialogue like in the movie, like allegedly 20 minutes before they go on air.
Do you feel like it's one of those movies, in a weird way, it's almost like a prequel where, I guess all historical movies are like this, but like the air is just so taken out of it because we know what happens.
Yeah.
Like, and not only like we know immediately what happens, like it is a huge hit and has been a cultural touch point for 50 years.
Yeah. I think like there was nothing new that I learned from it. It felt like a backstage night if we were at IO or MCL or Annoyance. Like nothing different than any sort of sketch show on that level. But I just felt masturbatory. I felt like I learned nothing new. It's weird the perspective they sort of take on like how they punched down at Jim Henson, Andy Kaufman, and George Carlin. And the women, I mean, obviously, like already the women of that time, Jane, Lorraine, and Gilda, were not super respected. But even still, it's just like no one's like a fully formed character except maybe Lorne. But it's all like, it felt like a backstage production of like Noises Off. And not even a good production
but
of it.
Not funny.
Yeah,
my favorite
review. Not funny.
My favorite review I read was something along the lines of it's funny that Jim Henson is there because this movie is just an episode of The Muppet Show.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good review.
Yeah.
I read the book. I'm really excited to see this movie. And I'm going in expecting to love it, so we'll see if I'm right there with you and hating it. I'm intrigued.
By the way,
I'm even more intrigued now for some reason.
Jason Reitman definitely has written comedies. Thank You for Smoking is a great comedy.
But
it's
adapted from a novel.
Sure. Up in the Air, I think, is also adapted from a novel, but it's not funny. It's not like a comedy. And he's made some pretty mediocre to bad movies since Up in the Air. So, I don't know.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see what the two of you think. Yeah, I was very excited for it, and then I just sort of left. I was like, okay, we know what's going to happen. Like, it makes it to air. It's just kind of, and there was nothing new. Like, 'cause I read the book, I mean, I'm sure most of us have, like, read the Live from New York oral history. At that point, I kind of was like, this could have been an oral history. That's sort of...
I also wonder if it's hard. Like, there's a lot of, historical movies about, we'll just say like geniuses, right? Like musical geniuses and artistic geniuses and academic geniuses. And I wonder if it's actually just impossible to demonstrate comedic genius. Like, why watch someone pretend to be Dan Aykroyd when you could just watch Dan Aykroyd, who, by the way, is alive?
Totally.
And like his genius, like, I don't know. Is there something to that? Like, you could have, Joaquin Phoenix stand up on stage and like really demonstrate what Johnny Cash's genius was and how it was manifested. And there just isn't a way to do that with comedy, or are we just all too close to comedy to care?
I mean, I think there's a more interesting version of this movie that I wish I could have seen. Like, how did Lorne get all of these comedians? How did he pitch it to the network? How did that? Because I think that's a more interesting movie instead of seeing the 90 minutes before the show. I think that it was just kind of like, well, yeah, it's going to happen. This movie wouldn't exist if it hadn't happened. Like, I don't know. It just kind of felt like the stakes were nothing. And I think there were no stakes that were felt at any point, like it wasn't going to happen.
You know, a movie that reminded me of you just talking is A Stupid and Futile Gesture, which is about National Lampoon. It's based on the documentary. It's directed by David Wayne. It stars Will Forte as Doug Kenny. And it features Lorne Michaels going in and stealing the cast.
We have a guest.
Good movie. Well, I don't know if it's a good movie, but it's an okay movie, and it reminds me of that.
Yeah.
Hello, Ethan's baby.
Nora. Hi, Nora.
Nora, what are your thoughts? Nora, who is on your Mount Rushmore of Saturday Night Live cast members?
Vanessa Mitchell.
Okay, starting off strong.
Molly Shannon.
Yeah,
definitely Luke Knoll might be listening to this.
Yeah,
definitely
it's Luke Knoll. It's for sure Luke Knoll times 4.
Mm-hmm.
Just Luke 4 times.
Yeah,
I say give him another shot. Well, thank you, Caroline. I know you've seen another movie in the last couple of days. What else did you see?
I saw Night Bitch. I have a
language, Caroline. There's a baby.
I'm sorry. Speaking of motherhood, directed by Marianne Heller, who also did Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood and Can You Forgive Me? I'm very curious to see what both of you think, and also in general what the response to this movie is going to be, because it's not like the trailer. It's weird and like very tongue-in-cheek about motherhood and sort of like how it's represented now. It's one of Amy Adams' probably weirdest performances, and I hope she gets nominated for it, but I think this year's about to be very stacked in the Best Actress race, so I'm hoping like at least for a Golden Globe. But it's a weird movie, but it was fun. I was just kind of glad to see her redeemed for Hillbilly Elegy and her getting to actually do like a semi-decent movie. Because we looked at her IMDb that night, and I don't know that she's done a good movie since Arrival in 2016.
Well, Caroline, you're being a little mean to Ethan's favorite movie, Hillbilly Elegy. I know he prefers the book. But just be aware that of who your audience is, because Ethan's pretty mad right now.
Big JD Vance fan.
Yeah. I mean, look,
huge.
Look, the cat lady over here can talk all she wants about Amy Adams' IMDb, but
yeah.
I'm interested. I don't think Golden Globe's out of the picture. Night Mitch is getting pretty mixed reviews right now. So we'll see how audiences like it. It's interesting that you loved Night Bitch, hated Saturday Night, and generally speaking, the critics are okay with Saturday Night, hate Night Bitch. So I'm interested, Caroline, is this going to be your new thing? Are you going to be the one critic on the podcast who like is against what popular people are saying?
The Richard Brody. You're the Richard Brody of this podcast.
This. I'm a contrarian.
I'm into this new character.
Okay, we can make this out. Yeah, I can be the contrarian, but I loved Wild Robot, and I think generally that's pretty well received.
Oh, let's go into that. Wild Robot, both Caroline and I saw it. Blew me away.
It's stunning.
I cried the entire time, and before the movie started, I went with my son George, and I told him, I said, George, I'm going to cry during this movie. And throughout the movie, he kept turning to me and saying, don't cry. And I was like, I won't. I was crying my eyes out at this movie. It is a movie about parenthood. It is a movie about
mothers,
just like motherhood specifically, about finding yourself in an unknown place in an unknown situation and having to figure it out.
Yeah, I think it's this generation's Fly Away Home. Do you remember Fly Away Home, starring Anna Paquin and Jeff Bridges? Yeah, with the geese.
Yeah,
from 1996. Okay. Yeah, I think Lupita Nyong'o is Anna Paquin.
So 2 questions for us. One, is our girl Maren Morris going to get an Oscar for the songs that she wrote?
They're great, but here's the thing. I think the original song I'm leaning towards is in a different movie that we watched this week. Did you watch Will and Harper?
I did watch Will and Harper. I don't
Not
think
yet.
that's going to get a nomination. I don't think it's going to get the Peaches nomination that Jack Black also didn't get. I do foresee Wild Robot getting a Best Original Song.
Yeah, it's great in the
nomination.
montage.
Right now, it's my win for Best Animated Feature.
That was my question. Is it like the dominating box office story of the year has been Inside Out 2? Is this going to be
saved
good
Pixar,
enough?
which made billions of dollars? Yeah, that's the question. It's DreamWorks versus Pixar, and of course there might be some others in there.
Yeah.
There's some, I think, French animated film that's getting really good buzz. But
I think
Wild Robot's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's a gorgeous movie.
Visually, like there's a scene where they're telling the story, and the animation of it is so. You know what I talk about, Eli? The one where they're telling the story to the. Yeah, it's like like it cuts to a completely different style of animation, and the colors and just like everything are so rich. And also, Catherine O'Hara as a possum, I did not know was like one of the dream parts I needed her to play. But the possums were maybe and Ving Rhames as a hawk, I think were maybe my two highlights of the movie.
Mark Hamill as the bear.
Oh yeah.
The beaver, which
Berry.
is the guy from What We Do in the Shower. Yeah, Matthew Berry.
Matthew Berry. Yeah.
He has the line of the movie, which is male bovine excrement, instead of saying bullshit. Great line.
It was
great line.
And the possums, when they're like talking about their playing dead, and they're like, "I'm meningitis. It's a slow death.
It's a slow death."
Yeah.
Yep. Ethan, go see Wild Robot. You will cry.
I
It's
will.
very good.
Yeah.
It's a good date night movie.
But the reason for the season, Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah. Real quick, you did mention Will and Harper. Go see Will and Harper. It's on Netflix. I said it was going to get a Best Picture nomination. I was very wrong. I don't think it will. I'm hoping it gets a documentary nomination. After seeing it, it reminds me of the Michael J. Fox documentary, which I also loved, but it got 0 nominations, so who knows? But it's a great movie that really made me like America.
Yeah.
Like it warmed my heart. It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's really
also made
lovely.
me hate America, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
I think the documentary crew nominations are usually far more obscure. Like maybe they're a little less commercial than some of the regular Oscar categories.
Totally.
Eli, are you vaping on camera?
Yeah, I'm vaping.
He's
Taking
wow.
This is that big vape.
He loves
It's
that
a
hot
bong.
vape. It's on Netflix. Very special. I think a very good movie for like this election year. Will Ferrell is like the perfect conduit to talk about like trans issues and like having him as an ally. I also saw My Old Ass, and it's so lovely. I can't recommend it enough. Yeah, it's very like Aubrey Plaza's great, but Maisie Stella is fantastic. Like it's a good. I don't know. It's very good for like this sort of generation. It's a nice, like a lot of the references they make are very funny, but it's like a nice queer kind of version of that story because she's bi in the movie. And it was like fun to kind of see that sort of interpretation on that sort of coming of age story.
It's fun that this is becoming the year of Aubrey Plaza. She's just everywhere right now.
I know.
Agatha All Along, My Old Ass, and of course,
good transition, Eli.
Our good transition.
Thank you, Ethan. Okay. I told you I was going to write down my thoughts. I did not write down my thoughts, so this is going to be off the top of my head.
Okay.
But let me start my dissertation. Ahem. In the movie The Dark Knight, Batman says this line: "You either die a hero, or you live long enough to help yourself become the villain."
I can't believe you got Christian Bale to come
That's
to your
pretty good.
house to record one line.
My dog almost fell off the bed. I don't know if you saw that. That's how excited he was to meet Christian Bale. You either die a hero or you live long enough to let yourself become the villain. Francis Ford Coppola had it all, right? He is a legend. Everyone, it's impossible to not recognize him as a master filmmaker. He had a run of Godfather, Godfather 2, The Conversation, Apocalypse Now. He even the kind of bad-ish movies that we grew up on, like Jack. You gotta respect Jack. We all watched Jack.
We all watched Jack.
Shit, Caroline.
Yeah. The J-Lo crush, where that...
Just like Rudy Giuliani in 2001, he could have just said, okay, I'm good. Everyone loves me. I'm done. But no, he kept going. And now Rudy Giuliani is disbarred and bankrupt and dripping out of his face. Francis Ford Coppola was a master filmmaker who owned a wine vineyard, a daughter who's doing amazing movies, and he could have just been like, I'm done. Everyone loves me. I'm over. But no, he had a vision for a movie that he self-financed, that he needed to make. He needed to make it. And everyone's like, oh, great, Francis Ford Coppola, what is this movie about? And he goes, okay, there's a guy, and he invents a new substance, and this substance can save the world. And he's going to win a Nobel Prize for this substance. And everyone's like, oh, my God, what a great-sounding movie. And we see all of this in the movie, right? He's like, no, you're not going to see any of that. But that's what the movie's about. And they're like, okay, and is that all it's about? And they're like, no, because his uncle owns a bank. And his uncle is married to his ex-girlfriend. And his cousin is going to try to kill him all the time. And he's also going to wear drag all the time. And you're like, okay, and you're going to explain all of this in the movie? And they're like, no, we're not going to explain it at all. Okay, anything else? Yes, the guy who invented the substance, his wife died, and everyone thought that he killed her, and the lead prosecutor is now the mayor, and nobody likes the mayor, but everyone loves this other guy, and you're like, okay, but you're going to explain this in the movie, and they're like, no, we're not going to explain it at all. The whole movie's not even in English. They're just going to give speeches the whole time. And you're like, okay, anything else? And he's like, yeah, it's about the fall of Rome. And you're like, what? It's about the fall of Rome? It's like, yeah, that's all in this movie. And you're like, okay, and you're going to very, cleverly explain. And he's like, no, there's going to be newspapers that kind of tell you what's going on, but you have no idea what's happening.
Oh, my God.
And you're like, okay, what else is it about? And he's like, architecture. And you're like, architecture? And he's like, also a weird casino storyline. Also, there's a virgin, okay? And everyone wants to give a lot of money because she's a virgin. But then a sex tape comes out where our main guy has sex with her. But then it turns out she's not a virgin. Also, she's 23 and not underage like we are saying it is. Also, the sex tape is fake and it was made using AI by the guy's cousin in order to have a weird MAGA subplot of him taking power. And you're like, this is confusing. And he's like, yes, this is the movie I need to make. Everyone's going to love it. And you're like, hey, are you an idiot? He's like, yeah, I'm going to go grope a bunch of extras and get caught on film for it. This is a really problematic movie. Let's go for it. That's what this movie is, everybody. That is this movie. Everything I just said is in this movie. So
it sounds like
before I take questions.
Yeah.
Before I take questions, Caroline and Ethan, allow me to say 2 lines of dialogue from this movie.
I can't wait.
Okay. The first line of dialogue is from Adam Driver's character.
Okay.
Because the mayor is giving a press conference in the rafters, surrounded by press. He says, hey, everybody, we need more money. Let me open up a casino. And then Adam Driver pops in and says, no. Here's my idea. But he does it by saying this line. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler of the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep no more, and by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh to err to. 'Tis a consumption, devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For that sleep of death, what dreams may come, when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. There's the respect. That makes calamity of so long life. All right, that's a line from the movie Megalopolis, as said by Adam Driver's character. And if you're wondering, after that, they all go, oh, great, you're referencing Shakespeare. No, they all react like he just came up with that. Great. That is one line from the movie Megalopolis. And now let me say a second line from the movie Megalopolis, which is, what do you think about my boner? That is said by John Voight at the end of the movie. This is All fun things. Let me give you a third line said by Aubrey Plaza, which is, "Oh, Caesar, you're anal as hell. I, on the other hand, am oral as hell." Great line. Great line. This is the movie Megalopolis, you guys.
You know, it feels like Francis Ford Coppola read The Fountainhead, and then he just sort of absorbed the general, like, themes and decided that was a great idea for a movie.
I feel like he started to make this movie and then heard that The Brutalist was coming out and was like, oh, I need to beat them to their punch. But The Brutalist, I think, is going to be the Oscar winner this year, and Megalopolis is a huge stinky pile of turd that makes me no longer like Francis Ford Coppola. One other note, real quick. Natalie Emmanuel is in this movie. I love her. She's amazing in Game of Thrones. She's amazing in all of the Fast and Furious movies. She was on, what was it, Skins? She was on a TV show. I really like her. I think she is the worst actress to ever live now. Her line readings in this, they kept flubbed line readings in the movie. She flubs lines. Her accent is all over the place. They gave her like a weird Brooklyn accent that then becomes a Boston accent that then might be her natural British accent. It's all over the place. Her line readings are absolutely god-awful. There's a scene where, spoiler alert, her and Adam Driver get together and they lay in bed. And guess what they do in bed, Ethan? That's right. They play patty cake. Actually, in this movie, they lay in bed and play patty cake. That happens in this movie. There is not a single moment of this movie where I understood what was happening, why I was watching this, why the actors agreed to do this, other than the fact that it was Francis Ford Coppola. I truly mean it when I say this. This is the worst movie I have ever seen in my life. There's not a single movie I can think of that I hated more than Megalopolis.
Can I ask, like, how full was the theater? Like, were you the only person?
It's kind of a smallish theater. It was one of those ones with like the lounger and the tables and all that. I'm going to say there were 5 people in the theater.
Okay.
So
I saw it on a Friday morning.
Thank you
for... the floor is open for questions, by the way.
Well, do you know, I don't even have questions. Thank you for really painting the picture that this is the Four Seasons Total Landscaping press conference of movies.
Yes,
to
100%.
Continue your sort of metaphor there. So, heard this movie sucks. Wow. Guess he needs to start another vineyard. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read you a list of movies that Adam Driver has been in since 2018, and we are going to determine whether we are concerned about the career of Adam Driver or not. Ready?
Okay.
Black Klansman. Really good. He's great in it.
10
really
stars.
Good.
He's so hot. So hot in that movie.
The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, like, kind of a weird passion project bust.
But here's the thing, real quick, as you're doing this, Spike Lee and then
Terry Gilliam,
who at one point was everyone's favorite director because Brazil is everyone's favorite movie.
Yeah.
The Report was good, but kind of forgettable. The Dead Don't Die.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that movie.
Jim Jarmusch supposedly wasn't very good.
It's okay. You know what's interesting about that movie? It pops up in a couple of other movies, like what's it? Fallen Leaves. It pops up in the movie Fallen Leaves.
Oh yeah. That was funny.
Marriage Story. Obviously, he's like very, very good in that movie.
10 stars, 100%. Great movie. Caroline, you're wrong. It's an amazing movie.
No,
it is a good movie.
Every scene that you did in acting class in college. It is a bad movie. That is Neil Butte 101.
Someone to hold you too close. What if I just broke into company? Go ahead.
The final Star Wars movie, which was truly hot trash. Annette.
Not as bad as Megalopolis.
Annette, which I never saw.
I love Annette. That's a wild movie.
Was that the musical?
Yeah, it was the musical.
Yeah.
With songs by the band Sparks.
Mm.
So may we start?
The Last Duel, which I heard was almost a really good movie.
Oh, yeah.
I really enjoy that movie. But here's the thing. That movie is great because it is campy.
Yeah. Speaking of campy, House of Gucci, bad movie.
Great movie because it's campy.
No, it's a bad movie.
I'm all in on camp.
I kind of love it.
No,
I love it.
No, Sorry.
100% in.
It's
I
a
got
boring
yelled
movie.
at a
10-star
theater.
masterpiece. Ethan, you're wrong.
It's boring.
Keep going.
White Noise, not a good movie. Amazing book.
I like White Noise because the ending credits, they do a dance, and I'm Andre 3000 Sarah dancing.
And I like White Noise because I fall asleep to it every night.
65, very good, Caroline. 65, which was that Adam Driver After Earth movie that was supposed to be terrible.
Okay.
The dinosaur one.
Yeah, Ferrari, which is,
Oh,
Michael Mann, and then Megalopolis. And I just kind of wonder, so he's checking off all these major directors, but there's some good movies on there, but there was a moment after Marriage Story, Love It or Hate It, where you're like, this dude is our next, De Niro. He is the godsend of acting. And he has kind of done nothing. He's making bad choices as a leading man.
I don't think he is. I think he's making choices because he can do whatever he wants. He's at a star power unlike anyone we've ever seen. And what is he doing? He is picking movies. Doesn't matter. Is he picking bad movies? Sometimes. But he's picking movies by auteur directors. He is putting himself out there.
yeah.
Put him in a Quentin Tarantino movie. Put him in a Wes Anderson movie. Put him in a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. Put him in a BWS Anderson movie. I don't care.
If that's
Put him with all these weird directors. I'm into it.
But if that's the case, and he has such star power or acting power, shouldn't he be looking for the next version of all these people and stop
that's a good question.
hanging around old directors making mediocre to bad movies and then go get an amazing movie made by a young person and be their champion?
Well, I'm looking at his upcoming movies, and they're doing a Heat sequel.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Hell
He's
yeah.
in the Heat sequel.
With Austin Butler.
They're perfect.
With Austin
Yeah.
Butler. Let's go.
And,
Oh my God. I hope they kiss.
Oh my God. Please kiss.
I'll see it 75 times if they kiss. He's got a Cate Blanchett movie coming out, Father, Mother, Sister, Brother, directed by Jim Jarmusch.
Is that a Berenstain Bears movie?
Yeah, maybe.
That's pretty good.
And then he's doing another Terry Gilliam movie, The Carnival at the End of Days, with
By the way, you didn't have to tell me that was Terry Gilliam. With Johnny Depp, I don't know if that's ever actually going to happen. Although, Terry Gilliam also equally canceled, so who knows? I left Megalopolis without any hatred towards Adam Brody.
You mean
I do have to say,
Adam Driver?
What did I say?
Adam Brody. Which I didn't either.
Left watching the MLB playoffs without having any hatred towards Adam Brody either, actually. Caroline, what have you done that you haven't had any
I've been watching
hatred?
that Kristen Bell show, and now I love Adam Brody even more.
I know.
He plays a rabbi. Adam Driver. By the way, hot rabbi.
Hot rabbi.
Adam Driver. And you know what? I have to say, Megalopolis, worst movie I've ever seen. Aubrey Plaza is the one person. Actually, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say the thing I don't want to say. There are two people who are good in this movie.
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf is really good in this movie. Want to know why? Because he is campy, and Aubrey Plaza is campy.
Yeah.
And the only thing that could save this piece of trash movie is campiness. You mentioned Madam Web earlier.
Yeah.
I saw that movie too, and I agree with you. It was the most fun I've ever had because it's so campy.
Yeah.
Megalopolis is 0% camp. The only time there is any camp is when Aubrey Plaza has a weird sex scene with Shia LaBeouf, and they have fun with it.
Oh, God.
So,
well, I have a very important review of Megalopolis to read to the two of you. I've been wanting to introduce both of you to this website. It's movieguide.org, and it's all Christian, family-friendly reviews of movies. And
Ethan's aware.
Yeah, of course. I know you're familiar. The
I'm an investor.
Well, what the title of the review for Megalopolis is Naive Marxist Utopia. That's the headline. And when we get to the big part of what they say in the review. All right. Overall, Megalopolis is Francis Ford Coppola's dark, abhorrent, neo-Marxist vision of current American society, including its free enterprise system. He depicts a society in New Rome as run by greed and corruption. Strangely, Caesar's younger revival Claudio tries to gather support by appealing to the people displaced by Caesar's utopian vision. Power to the people, he shouts to the people who've lost their homes. Some pundits have compared Claudio to Donald Trump, but it's actually Caesar who more closely resembles Donald Trump because he's a visionary architect trying to build new things. As such, Caesar also resembles the
architect. This review took a weirdly pro-Trump turn, by the way.
Well, it's a resembles the architect in Ayn Rand's novel The Fountainhead. Oh, I wasn't wrong. Okay, but Caesar has an altruistic motive for building Megalopolis. He wants to create a utopia for anyone. Be as that may, Coppola's movie Megalopolis ultimately envisions a vague, secular Marxist utopia. Coppola even invents a Marxist Pledge of Allegiance, an inversion of the American Pledge of Allegiance. In the movie's Marxist Pledge, people pledge allegiance to a one-world communist utopia. This vision is incredibly naive. It suggests a Marxist romantic view of human nature. Also, it fails to take into account the biblical truth in Genesis chapter 8, verse 21, that the intent of man's heart is evil from his youth. Notice also that Coppola omits the words under God in his little utopian pledge to a united earth. Without God, can there really be a true peace and love, not to mention justice? Megalopolis sometimes descends into silly melodrama. At one point, for instance, a wounded Caesar moans loudly, no, 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 and another, his rich uncle suddenly pulls out a little bow and arrow, murders a deceitful relative. There's also a lengthy incestuous sex scene between the grandson and his grandfather's young wife. The movie also includes a smattering of F-words and a few strong profanities.
Wow, take a shot every time they say Marxist.
I know, which there's another Marxist review that they did for another movie I know that Eli wants to talk about that I think I have pulled up as well.
They think The Substance is Marxist?
Its headline for The Substance is Bloody Marxist Feminist Excess.
There's nothing Marxist about it. It's a satire about...
Says a Marxist.
Beauty standards.
Oh, well, I'd
be a Marxist, but I don't want to be a member of a club that would have me... Oh, wait, that's a Woody Allen line. No, that's a Groucho Marx line. Yeah. I got it. I'd be a Marxist, but I don't want to be a member of a club that would have me as one of its members. Is that okay?
No. Here's what I would like to do. Is that an okay joke? Next week, I would like to do Oscar predictions if Harris wins compared to Oscar predictions if Trump wins.
That's great.
I don't...
I think we got to do it.
I think we're so close to the election. We could do it. Yeah, tell us about your favorite movie of the year.
Okay, so in addition to Megalopolis, I saw The Substance. The Substance is the most fun I've had in the movie this year, and it's going to be in my top 10. It might be in my top 5. It is, it's the new Demi Moore movie with Margaret Qualley, with gross Ronald Reagan himself, Dennis Quaid. But it is an unreal body horror film. We gave, if you go back in our archives, you'll see a bunch of episodes about horror. We didn't really touch on body horror too much. There's a long line of history with body horror films that they came out, a lot of them came out around the 80s or the 70s and 80s. A lot of them would be considered video nasties. My favorite being Cronenberg's The Fly. But there are a lot out there, and The Substance, to me, is what happens if David Cronenberg directs an early Peter Jackson film. People forget that Peter Jackson, before Lord of the Rings, made movies like Bad Taste or Meet the Feebles. He made some gross-out, disgusting movies. The Substance's third act might be the grossest thing you'll ever see in a film. There are a friend of mine went and saw it at the Music Box in Chicago and said, like somebody in the audience fainted during this movie. I know that is weird publicity, but it actually is happening. And I see it. Like, it lures you into a false sense of, like, I get this, because the first gross out thing is essentially an aging but still gorgeous beauty icon, an Oscar winner, basically injects this thing called the substance, which creates a younger you, but you have to switch off with your younger self every 7 days. And the way that younger self is born is it basically bursts from your spinal cord. And it's really gross, but it's not that gross. Like, you're going to watch it and be like, I can handle this. And then by the third act, when fingernails are falling out or teeth are falling out or weird, gross monsters are spewing more blood than you've ever seen in a movie, it's an it's perfect. It's perfection. It is a perfect movie.
Can't wait to see it.
The only criticism about it is some people say it's overlong, and some people criticize it for being absolutely on the nose. Like, there's no subtlety with this movie. You know exactly what it is. And by that, I mean, it is oddly French. It is a French director. The movie is very French. The way it looks, the way the art design is, the way the costume design is, the way that it has no actual set year. Like, it might be the 80s, it might be the 90s, it might be now. The views on American producers like Dennis Quaid, he is filmed like the most disgusting human ever, eating shrimp close up with a fisheye lens. There are shots that look like a Terry Gilliam movie. It looks like the movie Brazil for parts of the movie. But the creature effects, there is a little CGI in there, but there's a lot of practical effects. The way it is filmed, everything about it. Ethan, Caroline, I want you to see this movie.
Okay.
I don't know if you're gonna love it as much as me and Ethan will love it. Ethan, see this movie.
Okay.
I will.
If I see this movie, because I have multiple people who are now trying to push me to get to see this movie, meaning mostly my boyfriend who is listening to this podcast. If I see this movie, what do I get as a reward?
Oh, she's negotiating. That's smart, Caroline.
The answer is a better life. For the record, the answer is
name your price. Name your price.
Yeah, name your price. What do you want from me?
I know. I'm trying to think. Is there? I'm like, what is because you guys will watch anything. I don't know what the price. If
you tell me watch Love Is Blind, too late.
I know. There's
What's
nothing.
a sports, like all of The Last Dance.
Do we get him to watch the World Series?
Wait, no. I've seen The Last Dance. I watched the World Series. I'm a sporty sporter. Look at my Brewers hat. They lost yesterday at the time of this recording. This recording comes out in 3 months.
Okay, I'll think about this. Let me marinate on what but there's a potential that I might be seeing it next week because I've been pushed enough to this point and I really am not looking forward to it.
So what you just revealed to me is you were going to see the movie either way. You're just trying to get a little thing out of this.
You lost leverage.
You lost your leverage just now.
No, I still have leverage. I'm
a
woman.
You have no leverage in this. You know what you get? Jack shit. You know what? In fact, you owe me something now.
Isn't that what it's like being a woman? I always owe men something.
Oh, Eli, you sexist.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, you Marxist sexist.
Yeah, Marky Marxist.
You Marky Marxist. By the way, that's pretty good.
You can put that in your SNL
Go see
packet.
The Substance.
Yeah.
Good movie. Go see The Substance. My Mount Rushmore of SNL. Let's see. We definitely go with Forte. I think Will Forte is a remarkably underrated SNL cast member. I go... let's think. Nora Dunn. I would put Nora Dunn on there. I think that she's great. No, never mind. She is great, but I would do Kate McKinnon. So Forte, McKinnon. I would go Dana Carvey. And I'd go Keenan. You have to throw Keenan in there.
Okay, I'm Gilda, Molly Shannon, Sherry O'Terry, Andy Samberg.
Wow.
Okay, Ethan is Julia Sweeney.
It's Pat character only.
Oh,
I would go. I would go. Dana Carvey, Chris Farley, Will Ferrell, Kristen Wiig.
I think that's a pretty good mix. Pretty good mix amongst all of us.
Hader is 5th on my list.
Hader is hard.
When we put Trump on Mount Rushmore, then that will be Bill Hader.
Is that happening any day?
It took me too long to figure out what you were saying.
I mean, I'm gonna go. I volunteered for the crew.
Stand-in be the stand-in. For
yeah.
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 All right.
Okay.
By
thank you, everybody.
And by the next time we see next recording, I'll have seen a Nora.
Ooh.
Hey, that's gonna be a big one.
I can't wait.
It's gonna be a big movie.
This is
and The Substance. I hope.
Nora, who is excited to hear about Nora.
Wow. Is Nora gonna light the menorah at Hanukkah?
Yes, with Dina Shora.
I loved that, Ethan. I love that joke so much. Okay, bye.
All right, bye. We love you.
Bye.
That's what Mike does, right? Is it?